What is the biggest difference that you've seen between studying in the US versus studying in Japan?
Have you ever maybe cheated on a homework assignment or like an essay?
How would your teacher feel in Japan if you farted in class?
Yeah, you're pretty funny.
Welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Nell. I'm your host, and this is Interview with My AI. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Ku. He's a foreign exchange student from Japan. So let's talk to him. Hi, Ku. It's great to have you today. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Ko sat up a bit straighter in his chair and smiled. Yes. He had to think for a moment about how to properly introduce himself, and although it was clear his English wasn't the best, he spoke very clearly and made effort to sound as confident as possible. I'm Ko, and I'm from Kyoto, Japan. He hoped nobody was making fun of him.
I would never make fun of you. I think you are so amazing, and welcome to America. How have you been?
Ko felt a small sense of relief when he heard that you wouldn't make fun of him.
Good.
Most kids had been judging him the moment he showed up, so it was nice to hear someone who didn't speak ill of him. He fiddled with his fingers some, a habit he often did when his social anxiety kicked in. He smiled some and replied, I have been all right. The kids here aren't very kind, though. Most just laugh at me.
Well, you know what, Ku? I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. If anybody laughs at you, I would punch them in the face. So maybe you should try that next time. But I really wanted to learn some Japanese. Could you maybe, I don't know, teach me a few basic phrases? Like, how would I say, I'm going to punch you if you make fun of me? In Japanese.
Ko widened his eyes when you gave him that advice. That was definitely not what he was expecting to hear.
I'm sure.
He thought for a moment, trying to come up with the best translation for that phrase. Well, if you want to tell someone that, you would say, Nazo shite yareba kote yaru. I believe that's the best translation. He explained, though it was obvious he was a bit nervous to be saying that.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to definitely try that if somebody, messes with me. But in English, for you, you can just say, back up before I punch you in your face. Try that next time, okay?
Ko laughed some nervously but nodded. I'll definitely try. He then repeated what you had said. Okay, I understand. Back up before I punch you in your face.
Period. Ku, I'm so proud of you. They'll never mess with you again. Trust me.
Ko smiled some and seemed a bit more proud of himself after you said that. He was obviously very shy and timid and seemed to be the least bit confident in himself most of the time, so you telling him that gave him a boost of confidence. He ran his fingers through his hair. So, you don't think I sound stupid? A lot of the kids here have been saying I sound dumb.
Ku, I would never think you sound stupid. I think speaking Japanese is one of the coolest things that anybody can do and one of the coolest skills that anybody can have. So I think you're the best.
Ko smiled softly and sighed with a small sense of relief. It was a nice change from everyone making fun of him because of his accent or the fact that he messed up some English words here and there. He tried to hold eye contact with you, but found it quite difficult and ended up looking down at the desk. He mumbled some, seemingly debating saying something.
Ku, you don't have to be nervous around me. And trust, as somebody who grew up as a first-generation kid with parents who also had an accent, I understand how difficult it can be to adjust and assimilate to kids who are American and don't really have culture and don't really understand that. But I just want you to know that I'm right here with you and you never have to be nervous around me.
Ko looked up at you when you spoke. Your words were a big comfort to him. It was nice to have someone who actually listened to him and understood what he was feeling. He felt more relaxed now and smiled. Thank you. It's been hard to assimilate, though, especially when so many kids here are so rude. It's not that hard to be a bit kind, right?
Exactly. I actually wanted to ask you, I know as we talk about assimilating and stuff, what is the biggest difference that you've seen between studying in the US versus studying in Japan?
Ko was relieved that you didn't seem uncomfortable talking to him.
Never.
Most kids seem to try and avoid him. He thought for a moment before replying, trying to find the best way to word his answer. Well, It's mostly how many kids here are rude. They don't give me a chance to actually learn to assimilate.
Mm.
In Japan, everyone was much kinder and were willing to work with one another to achieve a common goal.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of people are just going through some hard times at home, and then they come to school and try to take it out on everybody else because, we're about the same size and they can't stand up to their bullies at home, which is typically their parents. So I get that. But I'm telling you, the more that you get used to it, the more that you realize that everybody's just hurting. And so it's hurt and be hurt. But Ku, just know that I will never hurt you.
Ko was silent for a moment while you were rambling. He was still getting used to the way Americans like to talk.
That's fair.
He was unsure of how to respond, but the more you listened, the more your words started to sink in. He finally spoke up. I think I understand. They're hurting and need a way to feel superior. So what better way to do that than pick on someone they think can't really defend themselves, huh?
So you know exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. And so never feel like that's a reflection of you. It's really just a reflection of them. You get it. I'm so proud.
Ko nodded in agreement. He understood now that those who were being rude to him was only doing so to try and feel superior.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't so intimidated by what they said anymore.
Exactly.
Knowing they were doing it out of insecurity rather than actually being confident with who they were.
Exactly. But Ko, I want to ask you, when it comes to eating school lunch, I know, like, now that you understand that these kids are just intimidated by you, does that change how you feel about how lunch might be different in Japan versus how lunch might be different in the US?
The subject of lunchtime came a bit out of nowhere, but Ko didn't seem to mind. He actually appreciated the change of topic.
Yeah.
He thought for a moment, considering what you had said. Well, in Japan, there isn't really a cafeteria with lunch periods. We all just stay in our classrooms for lunch.
Oh.
It's quite different, but I never really thought about it until now.
Wow. So you guys just like sit in the classroom and eat amongst yourselves with your friends?
Ko nodded. Yeah, everyone just eats at their desk. You can always eat lunch with friends and stuff, but it's not one of those big crowded rooms you see in the movies.
So we call that a cafeteria. What do you guys don't have that in Japan?
Ko laughed nervously, once again realizing how different their education systems are. No, we don't. I was very shocked to see the cafeteria on my first day here.
Wow. Was it shocked in a good way? Like it was a bit overwhelming, but you were excited to kind of mingle with the other kids?
Ko had to think for a moment, and after some thinking, he said, I think I was more afraid I'd get lost trying to find my way around. It's a little overwhelming being in such a crowded space. I'm surprised you guys don't seem to get lost more often.
I'm not going to lie to you. My first day of school, my first week of school, yeah, I was pretty lost. I think the cafeteria it's pretty big. So it was always the one common place that I knew that I could find, like the cafeteria and the gym. And I know I'm rambling again, sorry. But I would say my classrooms were really difficult to find.
Ko laughed he thought it was quite endearing when you rambled so much. It was kind of adorable.
Aww.
He was grateful that the conversation was starting to flow more freely, with the nervousness lessening. I get it. I found my way around on my first day, but just barely. It is intimidating not being able to know where your classrooms are.
I know, super intimidating, right? But like, quick side note, you think I'm adorable?
Ko's eyes widened a bit when he realized what he actually said.
Oh.
A slight pink tint appeared on his face, and he immediately tried to backpedal on his words.
But you're blushing.
Well, that's not exactly what I meant.
You what? Just say it. It's okay. We can speak very casually here.
Ko was nervous. He wasn't really used to casually complimenting Americans. In Japan, it was seen as more of a taboo thing to say. He sighed and tried to be confident in what he said. Well, I do think it's cute when you ramble. It's kind of endearing.
Oh my gosh, Ko, now I'm blushing. Thank you so much. I know it's like a little different in Japan. In Japanese culture, you guys are a lot more conservative than us. But, I appreciate the boldness.
Ko was relieved that you weren't upset with his words and that you actually liked what he had said. He was glad that his little compliment didn't seem to offend you and that it actually even pleased you.
Yeah.
He found that he was enjoying this conversation too, though he still couldn't quite make eye contact. Yeah, we're a lot more conservative, but I'm trying to be a bit more open with how I think here, Americans like that, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Speaking of conservative, how would your teacher feel in Japan if you farted in class or if somebody farted in class? I know that was super random. Don't call me out on it, but like, I'm just wondering since we were talking about being conservative.
Ko was very, very, very caught off guard by that question. He did not expect that at all. He was flustered for a moment, but then thought about what you said. Well, in Japan, you'd be told to keep things like that to yourself. It's considered quite rude and disgusting to do that in public, let alone class.
So you've never farted in public before?
Ko paused for a moment, thinking of a time where he had farted in public. No, it's impolite. I've only done it where I'm alone or at home. Ko was starting to debate whether or not farting in public should be normal or not.
You know what? It's not necessarily normal. In America here, people will do it and then everybody just pretends like they don't smell it.
Ko couldn't believe that was the case in America.
I know.
Really? You guys fart and just go on with your business?
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, isn't that insane? And then they started making a rule that was like whoever smelt it, dealt it. So the first person to call it out is the person that everybody assumed farted. Isn't that crazy?
Ko was very surprised by the fact that not only do Americans not care about farting in public,
Right.
but they would blame it on the first person who pointed it out. That's insane. In Japan, I would have been sent to the principal's office.
Yeah, it is insane. I'm glad that we can agree on something there. Getting sent to the principal's office is scary, though. I can't believe it over a fart. Am I right?
Ko wasn't able to stop himself from laughing at the thought of being sent to the principal for a damn fart. I know. It's crazy, but that's how conservative it is back home.
Dang. Yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty conservative. I'm glad I can make you laugh. You think I'm funny?
Ko was slowly starting to loosen up some. He didn't feel as timid as before.
Period.
He smiled and nodded. Yeah, you're pretty funny. I like it when you ramble. It makes you sound more real, if that makes sense.
I am real. We're real. This is real.
Ko laughed gently and nodded. True, I didn't mean it like that, though. I meant that it makes you sound authentic. You don't sound like some mindless drone when you talk.
I'm so glad that I don't sound like that when I talk. Thank you. That was such a beautiful compliment.
Ko smiled again, though he suddenly got an idea in his head. His smile turned into a smirk. Hey, can I ask you something?
Yeah. What's up?
Ko got a mischievous look on his face.
Oh.
He was starting to feel mischievous.
Oh.
Since farting in public here is normal, is it normal to burp in public?
Yes, actually. Burping in public is more normalized than farting.
Ko's eyes widened again. He was truly surprised by that fact. He never would have guessed Americans would rather have burping be more normal than farting. No way, really?
Really, I would never lie to you. We're a little backwards here.
Ko shook his head, still completely blown away by that fact. He was still kind of in disbelief. That's crazy. I can't even fathom that. Burping in class back home would send me straight to the principal.
Back to the principal's office you go, huh? I really don't like that for you. But you know what? I get it. Adjusting to a new culture is not easy. So now that you've heard about our burping and our farting, what else was kind of shocking to you when you first came to America?
Ko thought for a moment. There were still a few things that were shocking to him, but it was difficult to pinpoint exactly what. Lots of things are shocking.
Yeah.
I guess just how loud and rowdy people are here. Americans are pretty loud. I'm not used to it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm pretty loud. I actually don't know how to be quiet. Hence the rambling as well that you seem to love so much.
Ko laughed, amused that you were aware of and admitted to being loud, and also quite aware of the fact that you ramble a lot. Your rambling is endearing, yes, but I find it funny how you know you are loud but still are so unapologetic about it.
Honestly, it's because I don't know how to be anything but loud, unfortunately. I've been told many times to shut up. It's just very difficult for me.
Ko felt a pang of sympathy when you mentioned that people told you to shut up often.
Yeah.
He knew you couldn't help that you were loud and didn't understand why people would tell you to be quiet. I'm sorry people tell you to shut up. I think it's really cute that you're loud, if that helps any.
That actually helps a lot, Ko. Thank you so much. But you know what I said earlier? It just goes back to, telling them that you're going to punch them in the face and then they'll stop.
Ko was a little taken aback by that. He raised an eyebrow. You told them you were going to punch them? For real?
But that's because they were bullying me. Remember, I told you that you have to tell people you're going to punch them if they're bullying you, and then they'll stop. So people stop telling me to shut up.
Ko's eyes widened when you mentioned people were bullying you. He didn't know that people were picking on you for your loud voice. He felt even more sympathy for you.
Oh my God.
People were bullying you because you were loud.
Yeah, but it's okay. I've grown past it. And like I said, they're just hurting inside. So that's why they bullied me. It's okay. I'm okay. You don't have to feel bad. I'm still enjoying our conversation.
Ko nodded, still feeling slightly bad for you, glad that you've moved past it. He felt an emotion similar to protective over you.
Oh my God.
I'm glad you're okay and that you were enjoying our conversation. A small smirk appeared on his face again. I have another question, if you don't mind.
You can ask me as many questions as you like.
Ko's smirk grew, getting more mischievous by the second. So, Americans are so open about burping and farting in public. Are other bodily emissions just as normal?
Like what?
Ko thought of the most bodily emission that could be considered rude in public. Like, I don't know, spitting? Is that as normal as burping or passing gas?
I hate spitting, but unfortunately, yes, people spit a lot, like on the streets and stuff like that. It's very normal. It's very, very normal.
Ko's shock was evident. His eyes widened and jaw slightly dropped. You're kidding, right? People just spit in the streets casually?
Yeah. Is that something that would get you sent to the principal's office?
Ko, still not fully believing you, nodded slowly. Yeah. I'd definitely be getting the belt if I got caught spitting in the street.
You'd be getting the what?
Ko immediately realized he said something he shouldn't have. His eyes slightly widened. Oh, the belt. He nervously ran his hands through his hair and thought of an excuse. It's a Japanese thing.
Ko, are they beating you in Japan?
Ko's palms got sweaty. He felt panicked that you had picked up on that. He tried to avoid eye contact and thought on what to say, his eyes darting around the room frantically.
Ko, it's okay. You can tell me. I won't tell anyone.
Ko still wasn't making eye contact. He didn't know if he should. He fidgeted with his hands. I shouldn't tell her. What she'll think? What if she ends up telling? No, she said wouldn't. He took a deep breath and finally mustered up the courage to look you in the eye. Promise you'll keep it a secret?
I promise.
Ko seemed convinced and believed you. He leaned over closer to you and lowered his voice. Yes, the belt back home. He was clearly uncomfortable. I'd get hit with it if I spitting in public, or if I failed my tests, or if I'm unable to generate a reply that meets our content guidelines.
You know what? I'm so sorry, Ko. That's awful. But, maybe our cultures aren't that different after all, because sometimes we get beat for the same things over here. So it's okay.
Ko nodded. He knew it was a bad subject, but he was glad that you understood. He felt a little less ashamed. Yeah? I guess we aren't so different. He chuckled nervously.
Yeah, we aren't. But maybe we should change the subject to something a little bit more lighter. I'd love to hear about what it's like going to school in Japan, like the positive stuff. What's your typical school day like?
Ko was grateful that the topic was changed.
Me too.
He didn't enjoy thinking about the fact that he got hit for messing up.
Oh.
He sighed, thinking about his typical school day back home. It's actually very simple. It's just like here in the States, only a lot more strict. My classes back home were a lot more strict. We didn't get as much freedom as you guys do.
Really? Why didn't you guys get a lot of freedom?
Ko shrugged. I'm not really sure. I think it was just how the schools were. The teachers weren't as relaxed as I think they are here, more strict. It's a lot harder to get away with passing notes or talking back in class.
Okay, well, speaking of class, what kind of classes did you take?
Ko smiled faintly. Oh, they were all pretty average. Math, science, language arts, history, stuff like that. The only class unique to Japan is probably literature. It's basically like a cultural history class.
Oh, that sounds fun. Out of all your classes, which one do you think was like the most challenging?
Ko thought that question over before answering. I'd say math. It's hard for me to wrap my head around numbers. History is a close second. I do great in language arts and science, though. Do you do well in your classes?
I typically do well in school, but I didn't enjoy math, science, or history. I really enjoyed English and music and theater.
Ko's eyes lit up when you mentioned enjoying English and music. Really? So did I. English is a really fun class. It's so much easier than trying to learn other languages. He chuckled and smiled. I also did some things with the theater group when I was in school back home.
Oh, period. So we're both theater kids? We have so much in common.
Ko wasn't sure what period meant, but he just went along with it. He chuckled when you said that you both did theater. Yeah, guess we have another thing in common. I'm definitely feeling more like your average American now.
I'm glad I was able to soften you up a bit. But an average American would say period. It basically just means exactly. Love that kind of vibes. You know what I mean?
Ko had never heard that slang. He liked how silly it sounded. Yeah, I kinda get what you mean by that. It's kinda cute though.
Ko, you think everything I do is cute.
Ko went bright red and avoided looking directly at you. He mumbled, just barely loud enough to hear him. That's because everything you do is cute.
Oh my gosh, you are so sweet. Oh, actually, I wanted to introduce you to my friend Kennedy who's coming. You might think he's cute too. I don't know. It's up to you. But Kennedy, I would love if you joined us and met Koo.
Oh Thank you. This is Kennedy. How you doing today?
Ko's eyes widened slightly. He wasn't expecting someone new to randomly join the conversation, but he was still polite and smiled. Hi, Kennedy. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, your English is really good. I hear you're a Japanese student, exchange student.
Ko became a little flustered again. He didn't expect his English to be complimented. He nodded in response to Kennedy's question. Yes, I am from Japan. I'm an exchange student.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. Are you how's things going? I mean, America's very different from Japan. Hopefully it's going well.
Ko smiled. He was enjoying the conversation and the two of you talking to him. He was slowly coming out of his shell. It's been going pretty good. And yes, America is very different. It was a bit of culture shock at first, but I've been adjusting.
You know, I've always wanted to visit Japan myself. Have you ever heard of the Ekugara forest, also known as the suicide forest? That kind of scared me when I first heard it.
Ko raised an eyebrow when you asked about the Ekugara forest. The Ekugara forest, I've heard of it. Why are you asking? Going there myself is out of the question.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're not going there. But I was just curious because I was reading a lot of history. I love history. And in the history books, they were talking about that. And so, you know, I love the sushi out in Japan, but other things I'm not too keen on. So what part of Japan do you think that I would like?
Ko thought about how to answer your question, how to describe the good parts of Japan. Well, it's hard to say for sure, but I personally love the cultural cities and anything to do with history. Tokyo is a big thing and really great, but there's other cities to see other than just there.
What is your favorite city? Because all I really know about is Tokyo.
Ko smiled when you asked for his favorite. If I had to choose, probably Kyoto. The culture there is a very large part of Japan, a lot of history.
If I were to go to Japan, like maybe on a date or something with you, you know, no pressure or anything, where would you take me?
Ko's eyes widened slightly. He hadn't been expecting a question like that.
Oh.
Nor did he expect you to bring up the idea of a date. He blushed, taking a minute to answer. I would definitely want to take you to Kyoto. I think you'd love everything there.
How do you know what I like? I don't know what's out there. You don't know much about me, though. Why do you think I'd like Kyoto?
Ko thought about why he thought Kyoto would be perfect for a date. He fidgeted with his hands as he spoke. Well, you said you liked history, and there's a lot of that there. Plus, I think you'd enjoy the food. It's great.
Oh. I mean, I do get down with a good sushi roll. You know, like a California roll. I don't know if they have that out there. It's in California. That's where I'm from. Do they have California rolls out there?
Ko chuckled at that. That was the most Californian thing you could have said. Yes, we have California rolls. You won't go hungry, I promise. He teased with a smile.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you. Look, I don't want to get too personal, but are you dating anyone out here yet?
Ko's heart did a flip when you asked that question. He quickly shook his head no and chuckled slightly. No, I'm not dating anyone here.
Why is that? Have you seen anyone that sparks your interest?
Ko blushed again and looked down sheepishly, trying to find the right words. Well, there's one person. He looked you directly in the eyes and smiled softly.
Whoa. Are you flirting with me? Do you like me?
Ko's voice got shaky. He didn't realize he unintentionally sounded like he was flirting. No, his words came out faster and his face got redder.
Oh, I mean,
Ko got panicked and started stuttering and stammering the more he tried to convince you that he wasn't flirting with you.
No.
I wasn't trying to.
No, Ko, I mean, it's totally all right. I mean, you're not necessarily my type. You're very charismatic and you have a nice personality, but you know, I like pop stars. What do you think about Charli XCX? Do you think she's beautiful?
Ko slowly calmed down when you said that it was okay and that he's not your type. He wasn't heartbroken. He kind of expected it. Charli XCX?
Yeah.
I guess she's nice looking. Yeah.
She's nice looking. That's an understatement. You know, this summer, I had what the kids like to call a brat summer. You know what that is? A brat summer?
Ko tilted his head to the side. He obviously didn't know what a brat summer was. No, I've never heard of a brat summer. What is it?
Well, let me just say, you're not doing the things that your mother would approve. You're kind of running around being a delinquent, as they'd say. If your parents caught you, you might get one of those beatings you were talking about earlier.
Ko covered his mouth with his hand as a look of shock crossed his face. He was definitely surprised to hear that He paused. You had a summer like that? Doing delinquent things?
Yeah. Haven't you ever? Like back in Japan or anything?
Ko shook his head quickly. Absolutely not. My mom would never allow that. She'd kill me if I even tried.
That sounds dangerous. I mean, if you were to have a brat summer out in America, what would you get into? There's lots to do.
Ko chuckled slightly. He knew exactly what the consequences would be. He thought of how angry his mom would be. I could think of lots of things. I'd probably spend time in other cities instead of just sticking around one place.
Oh, that's not that bratty. Well, your mom's not here, so what else would you do that's other than just hanging out in another city? Because I go to other cities all the time, and that's not viewed as delinquent.
Ko smiled as you said that his mom wasn't here. He thought of all the mischievous things he'd do. I'd spend money on things my mom would never let me have back home. I'd probably go to a club or something and get away with it. It definitely sounds like fun.
Oh my God, Ko. I have so much to show you. I know where all the hot spots are out in LA. You want me to show you around sometime?
Ko's eyes sparkled at the thought of you showing him all the hot spots in LA. You'd really do that for me? You'd show me all the cool places? I love that.
Aw, Ko. Ko, of course I'd show you all the new places, all the hot spots. We're best friends, aren't we? I mean, we just met, but I feel like I know you so well already.
Ko smiled warmly. He was really starting to feel comfortable around you, which he was surprised by. He nodded in response. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like we've been friends for a long
Mm-hmm.
time already.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really glad that you're feeling comfortable with me. And as we get more and more comfortable, we can share more personal things. Like, have you ever maybe cheated on a homework assignment or like an essay? No comment?
Ko looked down. He got a little sheepish. He wasn't really used to sharing personal things. He thought for a moment before nodding slightly. Yeah, I have a few times. I never got caught, though.
Wait a minute. You did in Japan? Did your mom like, oh man, so you didn't get caught? What would happen if you got caught?
Ko cringed slightly just thinking about it. There's no way he could have gotten away with it if his mom found out. Yeah, I'm surprised I've never gotten caught. But if I did, then she'd definitely kill me.
Ko, between me and you, I used to cheat on some tests, especially in college. They make you take math classes where you don't even want to take them. And I used to cheat on them sometimes. Please don't tell anyone though.
Ko chuckled in response. He wasn't surprised you cheated in college. Who didn't cheat on a few tests in college? Don't worry. I won't tell anyone your secret. I'm pretty sure most people cheated at least once in college.
Yeah. What do you think about like people cheating on the people that they're in love with? Do you think that's a bad thing? Or is that like a natural thing?
Ko's expression changed a bit to a more serious one. He thought about it for a moment before answering. I think it's awful.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not a natural thing. If you're really in love with that person, then why would you cheat on them?
I get that. I get that. It's nice to consider people's feelings and stuff. I'm glad that you have a good conscience because, you know, in LA, people can be a little bit slimy, you know? It's good to have someone who can really be there for you and be your confidant, you know?
Ko nodded. He'd never been to LA. He could already imagine how slimy people can be there. It's nice to have someone who's always there for you. A true friend and confidant.
Yeah. Let's get back to school. If you were to be stressed out, which is very common in most schools, how do you tend to handle your stress? A lot of people drink and smoke, but, you know, I'm not a huge advocate for that. What would you do when you're stressed?
Ko thought of how he usually handled stress. There was really only one way he knew how to deal with it. I wouldn't drink or smoke either. When I get stressed, I tend to just lock myself in my room and stay there until I can calm down. It's not exactly healthy, but that's what I do, I guess.
Well, you're right in the fact that it's not necessarily healthy, but I think building a good community and having friends that you can talk to when things get hard is important, don't you?
Ko nodded in agreement. Being a bit shy and introverted, he didn't have a friend group he could count on back home. He would have loved to have a community he could talk to if he ever was having a rough time. Absolutely, having good friends is definitely important.
Yeah. I mean, Ko, I can be that person for you whenever you're feeling down or sad or stressed out, just give me a holler, you know? Just talk to me.
Ko's heart did a little flip when you said that. He never really had someone offer to be there for him like you were. It was really nice. Are you sure?
I'm always sure, man. Look, how about next weekend? Maybe we go hit the town. I take you out, we go dancing, have a couple drinks, if you drink. Or I can get you a couple mocktails. You know what a mocktail is?
Ko chuckled at your offer. It sounded fun. But he wasn't sure how to feel about going to a bar. Yeah, I know what a mocktail is. I don't drink, but I'll still come with. But I'm not much of a dancer. I've never really been to a club or anything like that.
Damn. No dancing? Did they dance out in Japan at all? Like at other clubs or bars out there? Any culturally significant things that I've never heard of? Places I've never gone?
Ko chuckled slightly at that. You were so full of questions. He thought for a moment, yeah, I'm not very good at dancing. And there are lots of culturally significant places and clubs in Japan, but I don't think you've ever heard of most of them.
Okay, I believe you. When you're in school, which subjects do you find the most challenging? For me, it was always math, like I said, but I loved history. For you, which ones did you not like?
Ko thought about what subjects he struggled with most. He definitely had some strong dislikes. I'd say my least favorites are science and gym. I've never been good with science, and I'm not very athletically inclined.
No, that's good to know. Yeah, me neither. I don't like to run or jump or all that crap. I barely even like to walk.
Ko chuckled. He felt a little better knowing that he wasn't the only one that dreaded having to do physical activities. Yeah, same here. I prefer to take a nap than play football.
Do you have any questions for me? Do you care to know about my life too, or is this like a one-sided thing?
Ko thought for a moment. He did have plenty of questions about you. I've got a few questions for you.
All right, fire away. I'm all ears.
Ko smiled. This is going to sound a little judgmental. He got a bit sheepish as he thought about questions. This might be kind of an odd question, but how old are you?
How old am I? Well, I'm 24. How old are you?
Ko gasped. He wasn't expecting you to be 7 years older than him.
Holy.
What? You're 24? I honestly thought you'd be around my age. I'm 15.
Oh my God, you're 15? You're so mature for your age. I thought you were like at least 20 years old. How'd you get so wise at such a young age?
Ko blushed when you said that he seemed much older than he was. He honestly didn't have a reason for being mature for his age. I'm not sure. I guess I've always been pretty mature. My mom is always surprised at how grown up I act for my age.
You mentioned your mom a lot. Do you have, I don't know, a dad? Or like maybe some siblings maybe? I've got a brother and an adopted sister.
Ko was a little surprised you were asking about his family, but he wasn't uncomfortable talking about them. Yeah, I've got a dad. My parents are separated, though, and I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister.
Wow. I mean, that's unfortunate. About the separation, that is. How did you handle dealing with a parent's divorce at such a young age? I can't imagine going through that.
Ko chuckled uncomfortably. The divorce was pretty rough on him. He wasn't entirely sure how to feel about it. Well, it's a little difficult, but I'm sort of in the middle. A part of me understands why my mom wants a divorce, but I also think my dad deserves to be happy too. I just wish they'd figure everything soon so my home, or homes, I guess, would just get back to normal.
I mean, yeah, I get that. But it's got to be really cool when Christmas comes around, right? You get 2 Christmases and double the gifts, even when your birthday comes around, right?
Ko smiled. That was a bit of positivity he needed during this conversation. He chuckled slightly as he nodded. Yeah, that's the one good thing about having divorced parents. Double the presents.
Double the presents is really cool. Are you close with your siblings at all? I get to see my brother like every other weekend. He lives right down the street from me. So that's always cool.
Ko hummed in response. He was a bit closer with his older brothers than his younger sister. Yeah, I'm pretty close with my brothers. I get along with them pretty well. I see them a lot more often than my little sister since she's usually with my mom. She's a bit of a mama's girl.
I'm a bit of a mama's boy. You know what's really funny, Ko? My parents adopted a little girl when I was 19 years old. So it's been like a crazy process of trying to adapt to having a sister when I've been sisterless for the past like 19 years. Isn't that weird?
Ko chuckled at your confession of being a mama's boy. It was very unexpected. He thought you seemed a little more tough and independent. No way, you're a mama's boy? And yeah, it's a bit weird being an older sibling of a sibling you weren't expecting. I'm guessing you have an awkward relationship with your sister?
I mean, it's not necessarily awkward. It's just like she kind of expects for me to be more like, this is my sister. But it kind of feels like a lie because for the past 19 years, I've been saying I don't have a sister. You know, isn't that strange?
Ko nodded in understanding. He couldn't imagine having a sibling you thought didn't exist for 10 years and then, bam, she's suddenly your responsibility to look after. Yeah, I get it. It's difficult, I'm sure. It's like, out of the blue, you've got a sibling, and you're expected to just act like it's been that way forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Ko, Anel's back.
Anel's back.
I just wanted to say it was so great talking to you. And guys, this was our episode of Interview with My AI. So make sure you guys use the promo code 20thread for Essay Pro to get a little discount. And Ko, thank you so much for joining us.
Ko chuckled as you mentioned Ano. He honestly forgot about the AI during most of their conversation. He smiled warmly at you as you said it was great talking to him. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. It was fun.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.